Hi, everybody. I am Kathy Goodall,
And I am Genesis Etienne.
and we are
Focus
Focused at 40.
40.
When we're physically together, we're much better at this.
Much more in
You
sync.
know, we have to do the best with what we have, right? So, I am a leadership and growth coach. I am a builder of people, brands, and businesses, and I am excited to be a part of this duo of Focused at 40.
And I am Genesis Etienne. I am a licensed mental health counselor, a marriage and family therapist. I'm a mom, a podcaster, an entrepreneur, and also the other part of this fantastic duo. Hi, Boo.
Hi. So, guys, first I want to start by apologizing for just not being here every week this season. Life has happened to both of us, and we've done our best with what we have. Both of us are in a transition season, and just even getting our timing right has been rough. But we're coming out. We're coming out, and we see a light, and we wanted to make sure that we at least closed out the season properly.
Definitely. And it's interesting that we would be having this conversation today about how tough this season has been for both of us because this season was about movement,
Yeah.
right? The season was about what's it look like to move and to change and for there to be transition versus what does the comfort of stability and homeostasis and kind of staying in place look like. So it's interesting that we both chose the former, not the latter, right?
Yeah.
Just a lot of movement. I know personally there was a lot of transition with my work. There
Yeah.
was a lot of family transition. There was a lot of even home transition. I've been dealing with a home renovation this season that took forever.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to know what your triggers are and what keeps you thriving and not thriving, right? Because for me, my sense of safety and security and stability comes from my home. So when my home is in disarray, it really kind of throws me off. So yeah, it was definitely a part of this season, all of these different changes.
Yeah.
And I know, Kat, it was the same for you.
Well, sometimes I feel like we kind of speak it into being, right? Because we talked about burnout, we talked about change, and it's almost like we spoke it into being, because the reality is that, we looked at burnout from the perspective of taking on too much, but we didn't really think about it from the perspective of just the circumstances of our environment and how not being in a space where we feel safe can also cause burnout, a mental drain, physical drain, spiritual drain, emotional drain.
Definitely.
We talked about outgrowing relationships and how we had to make some decisions this season of some people that we just had to release from our lives, not because there's any animosity or any bad blood, but it just the relationships weren't serving us in ways that, it should help us to grow. Instead, they were
Absolutely.
kind of inhibiting growth.
Absolutely.
And so, even, and we were just talking about it offline about expanding our networks and the importance of being intentional about who we have in our network and how that's going to help us to grow, help our businesses to grow. So it's funny because when we went into this season, we thought about like different things that were impacting the people around us. And it just so happened that we were all going through it at the same time this season.
It's so funny though, because I feel like with every season that we've had,
We've
we've
lived it.
actually walked through all of the things that we've spoken about, you know? But I think that this season we were reminded that God asks us to move, you know, and
Yeah.
that when we are not willing to move, that we are pushed. You know what I mean? And that on the other side of that movement and on the other side of that push and on the other side of that challenge, whether it be burnout, whether it be friendships that you're losing, whether it be a relationship that you're trying to hold on to or move around,
Yeah.
that
Business
we are asked.
relationships that you have to separate from.
Yeah, definitely, right? I mean, that God allows for us to move on our own, but when we don't want to move, that we are going to move regardless, and it's going to be uncomfortable, right? But that there is greatness on the other side of that movement.
Yeah, that
And
discomfort definitely
so,
stretches us and helps us to grow.
definitely, right? I know that I didn't experience so much work burnout this season because I didn't work as much, which was burning me out, right? For me,
Right.
not working more burns me out because of the financial strain, because of, the lack of knowing kind of what to do next and knowing how to pivot yourself when you're in a situation that you're really uncomfortable with. So it definitely has been definitely a season of movement. Um, and I still think though that even with all of the challenges, that there were some really great moments. Speaking of movement, I saw Kat 2 weeks ago in Jamaica for Carnival.
Barely.
That was a lot of movement, right? That was a lot of movement there. And again, right, kind of being thrown. I mean, not me because I enjoyed the hell out of Carnival, right?
Right. I
But
was working, she was reveling, let's be clear.
right, but you even being asked to move and move and move and move, and so while it was tough in some ways, there were still some really beautiful parts of this season. Um, and I'm grateful for it. I know that it's been tough, but I've certainly been grateful. So let's talk about a few of the season's episodes, kind of the ones that were the more important to you, or the ones that you resonated with the most. What would you say it was?
Well, definitely for me, rethinking work. I remember when I had just moved to Colorado, I started looking for a job and I was like, I need to find something to do. I need to find a space that's mine. I need to meet people. And the only way I could think of to do that was to find a job. And I just kept hitting road. First of all, let me be clear. I've never applied for a job in my life. So
Wow.
this was like a whole new experience for me, actually looking for a job and sending out resumes only to get rejection after rejection after rejection for those that answered. So I think I don't even know if I was more grateful for the response of the rejection or just no
Wow.
response at all. And it really deflated me at first because I was like, this is so new to me. I've never had to apply for a job before. I mean, I went
Is
through
that something, did it do something to your confidence, or like did it
100%.
create a self-doubt?
I went through depression. I mean, I definitely went through insecurity. I went through feeling like, you're at retirement age and nobody wants you. That's how it felt.
That's
Um,
such a crazy feeling, right?
until I had to, like you said, God always, he's always in control, right? And it was like, you're not listening. I'm telling you that you need to be doing something else, and you continue to try to trust in the things that you think you have control over. Well, I'm going to show you that you don't have any control. And you're not going to go and work for anybody again, full stop. Like, and the sooner I accepted that, and the more I started to focus again on the things that I actually want to do, because me applying for a job was just something to do because I thought
Right.
it was the right thing to do at the time, but my heart wasn't in it. Just the thought of going back into corporates. But I mean, even applying for some nonprofits that I was like, oh yeah, you got this. Went through 2 rounds of interviews for one, and then she called me back to say, we decided to go with somebody internal. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I should feel good that they chose somebody inside, and that I went through all the rounds. But it just wasn't for me. I know who I am, and I know what I want. I know what I enjoy. And I have been, I think, struggling with creating that structure and just executing it for myself. It's easy for me to do it for other people,
I
but to do it
know.
for myself has been hard, and I'm a work in progress. But that,
Yes.
I think, is the one thing that resonated massively with me, rethinking just work and my situation and where I am and where I need to be. So that definitely was the greatest challenge for me. And finances too. I was so happy to have Kurt on, because even though a lot of it I knew, the reminder and the reinforcement of the things that we need to have in place
That's
is
right.
extremely important.
Yes.
And even our relationship, or episode on relationships, just the reminder that I need to be grateful that I have a partner for the first time ever in my life.
Oh my God, seriously. And it is, right? Talk about change, talk about some movement. Um, I think that there's been so much transition for you. We're in our third season, but we literally did our 1 year anniversary this season. And I think it was really interesting because when we started versus where you're at now is so completely different. And I'm grateful that you have given yourself some grace kind of moving through these transitions, because it's a lot, it's a lot. And I remember telling Catherine, girl, don't worry about work right now. Worry about kind of like getting there, being a wife, taking on that role. But she's a doer, and I think it's really hard, right? That movement versus staying in place. Sometimes we're also asked to stay in place while we're being asked to move. We're also asked to like
Yeah.
sit in some of the newness, sit
Yep.
in some of the discomfort, sit with it a little bit, because only in that silence, right, are we able to hear what's next for us or what's right for us,
What's
you
right?
know?
What's right?
I
Um,
would definitely say that my episode that was probably the most resonating with me was the one of fear of change, you know, because I like my world structured and in a nice package that I'm able to pick it up and take it with me and look at it and put it back away in my pocket and think I'm safe, right? Safety is really, and it's because I don't have this massive support system and I don't have a partner and I don't have all of these other things that help us in creating safety for ourselves, you know? So when all of this work stuff happened, it really forced me to start thinking outside the box, and it really forced me to start thinking about ways that I can do the work that I love, um,
in
without
different
fear.
ways. Yeah. In new
Yeah,
ways and different ways.
stepping into roles that I've not stepped into, stepping into capabilities that I did not know that I had, stepping into capacities that I have to develop now, you know. And I've not asked to do that I've
Yeah.
not been asked to do that for a very long time. I've been kind of just like, nice, right? And I think that when life is comfortable, whether it be financially comfortable or relationship comfort,
Yeah.
it's easy for us to kind of stay complacent and for us to stay safe, right? But that's not where our greatness is, you know?
So
I'm
for
sure that
me,
if you had
I have
taken some round the mill job, you wouldn't have been able to do all of the wonderful things that you've been able to do, even when we were in Jamaica, all that great, great work you did, you know?
well, for me, what I love is to see you transition from being in a shell, which is so funny, right? Because Genesis and I fall under the same sign, but we are so completely different when it comes to like putting herself out there. She's like way more outgoing and like party. Like she will be dancing in the middle of the dance floor and I will be like standing in a corner. But when it
Goodbye.
comes to like putting herself out there for her craft, like speaking in public and those kinds of things, just seeing her actually put herself out there and embrace it to the point where now she's getting phone calls for people to from people to do, you know, different speaking engagements for her, for them, and now to her creating her own workshops. I'm super excited about that. So for me, even though this season has been a little rough for both of us, I think it is birthing so much. And I'm so excited and I can't wait to see.
Oh, I can't wait either.
We're waiting for you to release your first workshop, Jen Jen.
Yes, well, it's coming, guys. This summer, I have a really great workshop planned. It's going to be on the mental health of financial wealth, and we're kind of looking at how money stresses us out, right? Or how it makes our lives really, really wonderful. How it aids or hinders our mental health, how it aids or hinders our emotional health, our relationships. You know, we know that divorces come more from money issues even than infidelity, right? So I think it's really important that we be having that. I don't know that in our community, when I say a community, I'm talking about, you know, minority, people of color. While we have the beginnings, I think, of generational financial literacy, I think it's missing for a lot of us. I think that our jobs promise us certain things when it comes to like our benefits and things like that, but we may not necessarily understand how those things actually
Yeah,
manifest themselves in our lives.
yeah.
So the workshop that I'm doing this summer is going to be with mental financial professionals so that we can talk about, you know, how it's stressing you out and then providing actual tools and
How
resources
to
that
fix it.
people, yeah, how we're going to fix it, right? So look out for that, you guys. And even that's been like such a major, you know, I'm not a curator of events. I've always kind of been asked to participate and I show up on the
But
day of wearing what you asked me to wear and I grab the mic, I say what I'm supposed to say, and then I leave, you know. But putting it together and looking for sponsors and locations, and you've been so amazing with it as well for me. Yes, at least in the intro parts, right? And just even having like a support, like having somebody to say, "Do you like this picture? Oh my God, do I look cute here?" Or this, you know, I don't know that people understand the value of a support system. I
yeah,
don't know that we always understand that, you know. So I'm grateful to you too. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for all of the wonderful ways and your experience. You have such a wealth of experience when it comes to a public platform, that I use you as an example, you know, and as a muse because you're just awesome.
your mute extension. You know, we talked about families, about relationships, past relationships, how they impact our new ones, what do new relationships look like, what do blended families look like. And that's also something that we've lived, you know, in different ways. And, you know, even that is a work in progress. We talked about the importance of premarital counseling and what does that actually look like. You know, getting counseling before you get married, talking about the hard things before you jump into a relationship, because when you get into it, it's not
You're in
always
it.
easy to come out of it when you realize that it's not the right fit, you know?
That's right.
Um, so, wow, this really has been a season of living, you know? Um,
Living it, definitely, definitely.
yeah, so guys,
There were definitely some tears, but there was also a lot of joy, you know. I'm excited about season 4. You know, we're gonna see. It's so funny, and we got to be really intentional about what we talk about in season 4 because we keep doing things to ourselves. We keep preparing ourselves. So next season, we're gonna talk about how we're gonna all be rich, how
yeah,
our sex lives are gonna be amazing, how God came down from the heavens to speak to us. I mean, we got to put these amazing things out
out
there
there
because apparently, you know, what we say really does happen. So that's
manifest in
interesting.
our lives, 100%. So, guys, we want to thank you for joining us for season 3. We thank you for your patience. We thank you for your understanding. We ask that you just share with us some of the things that you want us to go into for season 4. We can find special guests to come on that can help you in areas that we know nothing about. So feel free to DM us, send us some messages and let us know, or comment on our video and let us know, you know, what your thoughts are, your feedback for the season, how it can be better. We are welcome to all of it.
Definitely.
Until next time, we wish you just an amazing life. We pray that it's productive. We pray that your family and you will be safe, that you'll have good health, and that, you know, you'll just embrace the abundance that life has to offer.
Definitely. Love, health, and light, right?
Yes.
All right, guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we will see you next season.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.